It's just Luke Ford and the dangers of e-personality, and he's an introvert, incel or whatever. And when he comes out on the internet, he has this, like the dark side of his subconscious becomes conscious. I mean, to me, it's obvious. It's what happens. It's what's happening to you on the same way. But your unconscious, your subconscious is different than Gandalf's subconscious.
Logic and science dictate that not only consciousness doesn't exist, consciousness is in fact scientifically impossible. And like, yes, it is going to involve math and calculus and science and computer programming. I'm sorry. And that have different implications of the process. What's the connection between the levels of a person's soul and how it reincarnates?
But I'm not going to spur on the issue because I'm not a woman. It's not my issue.
About how one day you're going to fulfill the Canadian dream or the American dream. So you watch Seinfeld and say, like, oh, I could do it. I'm going to go out tomorrow and go to work and have a great day, and I'm going to be successful. And one day I'm going to have my own apartment. I'm going to have my own parties with my own friends over, and I'm going to have my own possessions. I'm going to see things that I want and just buy them.
Yeah, but that's just so to say, a worthless opinion of yours.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Week in Review with the one and only Doooovid. I'm your host, Jen, aka COE, here to say goodbye to yet another week. Looking forward to another sure to be great show. Over to you, Doooovid. Thank you so much for being with us here this evening.
Yeah, Jennifer, thanks for doing this again. Good to be back. Everyone had a good week, and hopefully this next week is good. I had my big conversation with T-Jump, so hopefully we'll talk about that. I guess it ended up kind of being evidence for God, and I thought the conversation went pretty well, although his chat was pretty vicious, pretty unfriendly. I don't think I got like a single compliment from like the hundreds of comments. That was kind of just like, hey Dave, thanks for coming on, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Although T-Jump seemed relatively professional, so we'll talk about that more. And Thursday did with Charles Moskowitz. We're no longer doing YouTube, but we're continuing with our regular stream. So Jennifer's got her big another debate on evolution tomorrow, and I guess this one is actually with I don't call a big name, but an author, someone who has a PhD in biochemistry, and I looked at his bio. I guess he was kind of atheist, and then he became a born again Christian, and he believes in some sort of theistic guided evolution, and he's got his own theories on protein synthesis, and he's written I think 2 books, but it was probably a step up talking with actual biochemist PhD author. So it's probably a good direction. So we'd be talking that about more. And I guess Jennifer said she's going to do her post stream with Amy Newman. So that's good. Maybe I'll pop on Amy's channel for a tiny bit after that. So hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about. So
yeah, because the after debate post show model is great, but I think this is even better because sometimes I'm just a little exhausted after the debating. Please go on.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of giving up on kind of the ability to make much progress. Reaching out, finding people. You even just find a handful of people interested in the subjects. But I think the internet and YouTube and various things became more toxic. So kind of like the post show, bringing people over, God forbid, these days is more likely to attract negative things than good things. Even the original ones like JF or even like Adam Green, where the people may even have been counter-Semitic, but there was at least a few people willing to listen. I think things have taken a turn for the worse. So
there were a lot of people in the Adam Green audience, and I remember a lot of weirdos in your channel's chat, but I think the numbers sort of made it so that there were a few serious people. And yeah, modern day debate, like, their Discord, unfortunately, even after like right after the debate, there's hardly anybody on the post show.
So you have my screen share working?
Yeah.
So let me share things I had this week. So this metamaterials company had a few lectures on holographic film, holographic material, talking about like glasses and different technology that's used to make holographics, not like, the holographic universe, but, things for like dashboards or glasses that make holographic technology. So it's pretty interesting. There were 2 videos on that channel. I've been sharing this guy for a few weeks now on explaining papers related to AI, and this is a new interesting technology. You could get I think it's a public server that could make pictures come to life. It's got I don't know, I can't find it, but he had like the Mona Lisa coming to life and dancing, or just things that you would be able to do to turn technology graphic using AI, and I think it's even a free server. So I've been sharing this guy's for a little bit now, Yannick Kilcher, and his explanation of papers. Here was DeepMind, simulating matter on the quantum scale with AI. I mentioned some of that, I think even with T-Jump, and the use of AI technology to understand even quantum material and various things. So DeepMind, like who works together with AlphaFold, AlphaZero. So that's kind of interesting. Here, God forbid, they caught some like neo-Nazis in Michigan, and like streaming. So like politically provoked and type audience. So I'm not sure if it's growing or the amount, but you just see some of the kind of like the right wing people on the internet. And so, so a lot of these people, it was actually Metro Detroit, got caught up in this largely through streaming. So, God forbid it share that. We might talk about this a little bit more. T-Jump mentioned this.
Hail T-Jump!
I'm not so sure.
We can pack it up. T-Jump has BTF Otis for all time, based on this article.
Yeah, I think he even said it over wrong, where he's talking about like memory being implanted in a snail, and I don't think that's accurate. It's not actually what happened. It was an RNA strand that was inserted into a snail that caused some sort of ink extraction. So it was kind of like a I don't know why the name's slipping me, like a virus. What's the name slipping me? The thing that everyone's getting, the vaccination. So it's similar to like the RNA vaccination that you could that you have the RNA strand put into the vaccination, and then the RNA strand enters you. So this thing that T-Jump was talking about wasn't really like a brain implant, a memory implant. It was an RNA implant, and I don't see it having anything to do with memory. It just looks like it elicits some sort of response, like ejecting ink or something like that. So I'm unclear if T-Jump actually was correct about that. But maybe we'll look into that a little bit more in his claim on this snail. God forbid, Brittany was on Politically Provoked on Wednesday debating, I guess it was supposed to be immigration or like white replacement and her little Timmy thing. And, God forbid, it was largely just her kind of saying she's scared of black people, God forbid. But that was the debate on Wednesday on Politically Provoked. And I guess they had Richard Spencer on last night, and they've went now to like a paywall member, kind of like Luke Ford. So looks like they're just trying to turn it into profit. And maybe I don't even think they're as good as modern day debate, but in terms of kind of like alt right, old school Warski types, and she was a Holocaust survivor, Swiss, lived in Switzerland, and was an expert on psychology, specifically dealing with childhood trauma and the impact of violence on youth. But she wrote this famous book called "The Trauma of a Gifted Child," kind of about how intelligent children have difficulties fitting in, and so check out at least the trailer for that. I think you still have to pay for that documentary. Um, Here's my local Jewish Historical Society of Michigan talking about refugees. Ricardo in the chat. So, even Jewish organizations were still largely pro-immigration, pro-refugees, and we're still settling Afghan refugees here in Metro Detroit. And, so just talking about refugees, what they go through, worldwide situation, and the resettlement type processes in America. Like this guy in my Discord was like, he was like, accusing me of anti-Semitism. I had this little beef with this guy who calls himself Masado and Ralph from Juminati, because people are so anti-immigration, and one of the biggest complaints against Jews is our role in immigration, multiculturalism, refugee resettlement, and so. But here it is. That's one of the big issues in the Jewish community. So this is something Jennifer shared with me about free energy principle of generic quantum systems.
Now, I'm pretty sure I found this just one of my lucky Google searches, but the commentary on Reddit is chuckle-worthy, I'd say.
Didn't look like a real paper.
It's pre-peer review, but it did reference this Wheeler paper, I think. I don't remember that. We'll get to it later. Go ahead, continue.
Kevin McDonald has been in the news with his Culture of Critique, Group Evolutionary Strategy, where he got published in this Israeli journal, and then the Israeli journal had to apologize for publishing that. But here was the God Word podcast talking about music and mindset, kind of talking about like the music from the 60s and the nature of how the change in music and kind of like positivistic messages of earlier music. They're just kind of like, like, oh, I love you. I'm happy to be in love. Or, talking about, songs like So Happy Together and the kind of, simplistic message of music of decades ago, where now it's not really that way anymore. And so I was thinking of this Alan Parsons. I used to like Alan Parsons and like Supertramp and various songs when I was younger. And they're kind of just like general, nice, reasonable, positive message music. And that doesn't really exist anymore. It's probably related to the signs of the time, saying that you can't really choose what's popular, and what's popular is largely based on the signs of the time. So I thought I might chant a little bit of this Alan Parsons song. So have you heard the Alan Parsons Project?
Only on Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, so please fill me in.
Well, they were a pretty popular band in like the 60s, 70s, 80s. His father was in the music business, and he actually came up with Parsons code notation, which is basically just up, down, or repeat, whether the note in the song goes up, down, or repeats. And it's actually used in computer code. So actually, YouTube algorithms that detect music probably use Parsons code or some derivative of it, where they look at the music and they just determine the few note pattern of whether it's up or down, and then based on the Parson code of the little signature of going up or down, within a few notes, they could find a match of copyright strikes. So um, I'll just share that here was Base Take He was on The Crucible, and I guess like is he a doxer? Did he dox Norvin or even the Godward podcast? Was he involved in his doxing? And he's claiming it wasn't him, and there's fake accounts. So it's interesting. He was showing that there are fake accounts going around that they're him, and the fake accounts afterwards, you could tell they're fake accounts, and he shows for example, here that the name changed. So on the screen, it has like base take, bring on Zen, he'll destroy Mio. However, in the chat, whoever did that changed the name. And so it's name him here, bring on Zen, he destroyed Mio. And so, Jennifer was worried that German professor the other day was a troll. And I saw that just completely disappeared. It didn't change name. And, who knows? There's a lot of trolls, a lot of duplicate accounts. I've seen people duplicate my account a few times. Maybe Bad Karma. We had base takes on like a year and a half ago, and he just said he kind of enjoyed messing with people and thought it was funny. So, God forbid Karma came back to bite him, and now there's people just messing with him, and so people like Politically Provoked doesn't want to talk with him because they think he's a doxer. Whether he is or not, it's hard to tell. But people are trolling him, and then also that the OV, being that he streamed with OV for like months, how much sense does it make to be like, oh, he's my mortal enemy, like a horrible person? And then he's like, well, why do you stream with him for months? So even like Brundle, like that, and so probably the base takes who was in the chat like last week. I even sent the link on Twitter. Probably wasn't actually him. So like I was mentioned, like there's a lot of trolls. So I was going to chant this Alan Parsons song called "Eye in the Sky," and there's an musical introduction to it from the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls. When Michael Jordan, they were winning still till today, they came out to this serious song that is the musical intro to I think Gandalf was on Claire the other day, and he was still singing the praises of Jennifer. I'm not sure if you caught that. I think Brundle was there also for a minute. Samish Shalom in the chat.
Yeah, Brundle said I was bullying memes. I really
Whatever,
didn't
you're
see it
bullying
that
him.
way. I just thought he had a bit of hard time focusing, so I was trying to help him focus. But God forbid.
But I think you just accused him of being your simp or something like that. But yeah, I mean, so I guess you did see that. So, but I guess Gandalf he still catches Week in Review sometimes. Occasionally see him in the chat, but I mean, he hasn't maybe popped on like once in the last year or something like that. So the Chicago Bulls, when they were world champion till today, they used to come out to the intro called "Sirius to Eye in the Sky," which is a pretty simple musical introduction, and kind of interesting to talk about like theme song and the nature of that. So let me just New York Times article. God forbid COVID-19 is really bad right now. The case count's higher than it's ever been. This new Omicron variant. It's unclear. Maybe it's less deadly. We hope it's less deadly because these numbers are horrible. They're the worst that it's ever been. Look at the case counts. America had like over 1 million cases. We're averaging over 600,000 cases a day, almost triple the highest it's been. And hospitalizations are rising, and God forbid, maybe deaths are starting rising too. So these numbers are horrible. So be careful, stay safe. If you're vaccinated, still, like wash your hands, wear the mask, do the basic prevention, social distancing. It's unclear what's going to happen right now, but the global case counts of COVID-19 is actually the worst it's ever been 2 years into the pandemic. Okay, so let me chant a little bit of this song. So I was thinking like, positivistic lyrics, popular song, Eye in the Sky. Don't think sorry's easily said. Don't try turning tables instead. You've taken lots of chances before. but I'm not gonna give any more. Don't ask me, that's how it goes. 'Cause part of me knows what you're thinking. Don't say words you're gonna regret. Don't let fire rush to your head. I've heard the accusations before, and I ain't gonna take any more. Believe me, the sun in your eyes made some of the lies worth believing. I am the sky, looking at you. I can read your mind. I am the maker of rules, dealing with fools. I could cheat you blind, and I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. Don't leave false illusions behind. Don't cry. I am the maker of rules, dealing with fools. I could cheat you blind, and I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. You heard that song before?
No, but thanks for sharing. The chat seems to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, they're pretty popular. So I used to like these Alan Parsons when I was a kid, and even a few of their songs still today. I occasionally will pop on when I want to listen to music, and yeah, I was thinking it's pretty positivistic. I was thinking that song like okay, like I'm getting in all these arguments on the web. What am I doing? What's the point? It's like don't say words you're gonna regret. It's kind of like music isn't really like that anymore. You're just something kind of like a positivistic message that would be something like a good parent might tell their child. Like sharing some of your thoughts or doing some research. Not a single kind word. So it's kind of a sign of the times. And if you listen to the current music, it would probably be indicative. Like there's not really things like Alan Parsons or maybe Supertramp, like the Logical Song, or various things anymore. So I thought let's do that as the chance. So I guess that's my. So besides for reviewing the T jump and preparing, the evolution debate, not much to talk about. Even like the politically provoked base takes, like drama. It's probably better just avoiding that. I was thinking the Alan Parsons song, like um, the current state of drama is it's basically a lose-lose situation. So just focus on ideas. Week in Review keeps going, due to me and Jennifer's largely cooperation of love of science, love of ideas, and about modern day debate. I think I'm predicting it. They're probably going to lose money. I don't really think I'm interested in meeting her. Like a speaking tour or something, but I don't even know if we get around, get along like IRL, or like what we do. Like if we met up, like what would we do? The power of the internet. We make good streaming partners, but like even Jennifer, I don't know if I'd like it. Like I'm not like lining like that interested in meeting her. I mean, if she came to Detroit, I'd probably meet up and like just because that's what people do. Like we like cook or
Well,
like
I think if
grab.
we had a purpose, then it would be probably a lot like the show, with good synergy.
Yeah, but we probably wouldn't have a purpose. I was saying if you came to Detroit, maybe we could grab lunch or something, or like I could drive and give you like a tour of Detroit or something, and you have a purpose. Like, okay, you're in Detroit, you've never been here, and I could like pick you up from the airport or drive you around to like give you a tour of Detroit, or cook for you or something. But who knows whether we'd even get along that good if we hung out. And saying like T jump, like the people in modern day debate, even like Luke Ford, Babs, like Brundle. I don't know what we do. Like I'm not so sure. Like it'd be like interesting if we got together and, it's like, God forbid, I mentioned Alice Miller in The Trauma of the Gifted Child, and Lipton Matthews, I talked about the Solitude book, Anthony Storr. Like, COVID-19, I'm used to my solitude. And, even like I'm scared, like I don't want to go out and meet people anymore. And, thinking about that, like all these people I talk to online, like I don't even really want to meet any of them. And, so it's pretty depressing like that, God forbid. And, it's unfortunate, but I mean, me and Jennifer have a good working relationship. Um, like professionalism or something like that. Okay, like we're advancing ideas, we're doing research together, but it doesn't necessarily mean we'd make like good IRL friends or anything like that. And then what's the possibility that we could even make IRL friends from online? And it's like it's kind of unclear. Like Charles Moskowitz or something. Like I don't know if we'd get along if we met. Like if we went to synagogue together, we could pray together or something. But we probably wouldn't get along if we met. Like Arjun, if he came, we
Well,
could
like
probably.
when you get older, it's harder to have friends. Like when people have kids, they tend to pretty much focus exclusively on that. And as you get older, the probability people have kids increases. So
When I first started streaming, I streamed these my favorite rabbinic texts, duties of the heart and path of the just. And I said that like it's a requirement to teach your kids Torah, and because I haven't merited to find the right woman and to have children, the commandment to teach my kids Torah could be through publicly teaching. And so I mentioned that in my streaming, and I was telling Jennifer on Messenger that basically when I talk, I'm like talking to the son that I don't have. So I'm talking to Jennifer, I'm talking to the audience. Like I think about communication and streaming, but like basically, I think my style is like how I would be talking to to like my sons if I was trying to give over wisdom to my sons, and maybe that give me like somewhat of an interesting presentation style, style that I'm at least like a micro stream, a micro e-celebrity or whatever. But I think that's basically my style. Like I'm talking to the son that I don't have, and I don't. I think Jennifer. I thought you said you liked that rationale. I was trying to give her advice for her appearance tomorrow in Modern Day Debate because I
well,
was
it's an
thinking,
extremely good model. If it works for you, then I'd say go with it. It's not my model, but I definitely respect it as a model.
I was saying like, who are you talking to? And so
I'm
obviously
not
you have to,
talking to anyone in particular. There may be, people that I teach from time to time that I target certain elements of what I'm saying too, but generally what I'm trying to do is incentivize a mind state of openness to an idea or usually two ideas that will be conducive to some form of non-maladaptive rumination.
yeah. Well, I was saying that, yes.
But
I mean,
like
if
the
you
idea of talking to an individual person when performing a debate or any kind of public speaking is a great model. I'm not poo-pooing it. I have used it on occasion.
I was saying that I don't think it's too likely that you're going to like be on Modern Day Debate and then tens of people are going to come over afterwards and be interested in your teachings. It's just not the current environment we're in. And like generally there's not that many academic interested people. Even like when I was first on Luke Ford and Brundle and JF, that at that time there was somewhat of that audience like that, where people heard me and then they came over to kind of like hear me, like I was some sort of like audiobook or some sort of like a public teacher. And when I first got you into streaming, there may have been some audience appetite for such a thing, but currently I don't think that exists. And I think the personality cults are decreasing. You could have topical cults, but I think there's been a decline of personality cults. So kind of like following another personality, and then recruiting some of the people that follow that personality, and even kind of like I saw Modern Day Debate. A lot of the people that are on their channel, that they're kind of like Destiny wannabes. Either they're like a lot of them are on the right and they're like Richard Spencer wannabes or Destiny wannabes, but they're really kind of just like wannabes. And so there's not really an appetite for the service that me and Jennifer are offering, which is kind of like public discourse and teaching. Mentorship, academic, spiritual mentorship. So I think, so if memes, saying like, was maybe a person who was looking for mentorship, academic, spiritual mentorship, maybe like Wonder Crab, some of the people, even, like Judaic mentorship in the beginning, maybe like Babs, Kyle, some of the people on the Babs cast wanted kind of like rabbinic Jewish mentorship, and I was able to fill that in. But even I have too many Jewish haters that like if I did have anyone that was looking for Jewish mentorship, there would be too many trolls that would come like, you don't want this guy to mentor you. That it wouldn't be possible. But I think just in like streaming mentorship for someone like memes or people popping through, that we have been able to provide that with Week in Review, just generic how to become a better streamer, how to continue with your academic, spiritual studies despite the current state of the unfriendly world we're part of.
Seems pretty friendly to me.
Who's this David Neff? Is he a friend of yours?
He's a YouTuber, biologist, I think. Yeah, feel free to introduce yourself, David. It's in the modern day debate circles.
Did you want to bring him on?
He says it's not available now, but we can set up a time for a talk. And I've been meaning to email him for a while and haven't. So.
Yeah, I don't want to like put the blame on Jennifer, but went sour with the Arjun and Ben Watkins, and the Theology Unleashed. Whatever happened, that Arjun came on. And,
I didn't think Ben Watkins. How did things get sour with Ben Watkins? I know Arjun. I know what happened there was something about impersonal God, and that somehow being an issue. But
I think you were just too unfriendly to for him to want to be involved with like Week in Review or the Thursday night debate prep. That people want generic positive energy, and that you couldn't provide that.
Well, do you even remember what happened, or no? Or just completely irrational attack that way under any circumstances? Because I still remember what happened, but
well, the videos exist, but yeah. Like yeah. I mean, you kind of
that doesn't answer the question though.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to replay the video with. I mean, Ben Watkins wasn't that bad, but I think the most likely candidates that you should develop relations with are the people that you stream with, and even the people you debate against or talk with. So, like the most likely people that should have been regulars on Week in Review, would have been like Arjun, people from Theology Unleashed, people from Modern Day Debate, and the Lucas sphere was kind of toxic. So we didn't hold on to any. Really didn't hold on to a single.
Souls. I'm not sure how to do that, but
just
I
to have
figured
a
out
generic, positive, friendly relationship, like mutual beneficial networking, and saying that, especially when people didn't ask you, didn't solicit you for your mentorship, unsolicited mentorship, but just in terms of streaming, saying like, okay, we're talking, what do you think, what are you trying to do, and Ben Watkins.
I have to reproduce their illusion.
Well, yeah, you should be able to say, who their summation of their personality that they would approve of, and if you
can
can't
they summarize their own personality?
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, saying, and
okay.
Then in most, and then
maybe
you
they
could
should
have,
do it first,
and then you could have good working relationships moving forward. And I'm saying, like the other week, we had like 8 people watching, and like even the people in the chat, like they're probably a troll. They're probably going, you can't even put the link in the chat, even with only like 15 people watching. You can't even put the link in the chat because it's probably going to be a troll. And so in what sense does that make? It's like I can't even walk outside because like like someone's going to mug me. And it's like, no, I could walk outside. I could go somewhere. I could talk to somebody on a street corner. So on the stream, like you can't put the link in the chat because the likelihood it's going to be a troll. And just how to examine that karma And so like this person, this
The karma is that mystical topics have a very small audience, and that's the way it's always been. But you get better quality of people.
I mean, like Cy Gart or something like that. That he would want to keep a positive relationship. Like he would come on your channel and talk to him, and even though you disagree, you could give some sort of summation of what his ideas, what he's trying to accomplish, even though it's not the same thing that you're trying to accomplish. And that's the network. And so you have to be willing to pause from what you're trying to accomplish to just have basic networking and politically provoked. They're basically all toxic. It's unlikely you're going to develop any friends.
I can have a good relationship with James. Can I have a good relationship with JF? Well, it's
because
if
James
he's
is
okay with me
professional.
severely disagreeing with him or not. And
But,
in my
James never
experience,
came on your
people,
show.
well, I haven't asked him either, but in my experience, a lot of times people cannot deal with disagreements past a certain point.
Yeah, because James is a networking. That's why he's the host of the show, because he's
Yeah, James and I, whatever we disagree on is not relevant to debating because James isn't participating in the debate. Right, that's the risk.
Well, even if he was, to say like you could separate yourself from the debate, and just like Adam Green or something like okay, like even though me and Adam Green are on severe opposite sides of disagreements,
I think you're severely failing to understand how much my being female affects it. Sometimes losing a debate to a girl.
I mean that could be, but no, I think that you're particularly unfriendly in a way that that's made it difficult to keep working relations with the people.
I'm not denying that. I'm just you're trying to draw a parallel between our situations that's hard to establish due to my being a female.
You got Paul in the chat. Yeah, I would say I have positive, semi-friendly working relationships now with hundreds of people. I have a lot of trolls, a lot of people I don't know who they are. Like even think like Base Takes now. It's like 3 years, and like we still have a pretty negative relationship. He's just some guy that like thinks I'm bad for the Jews or something like that. And I don't know who he is, and I don't even care who he is. But like Aaron Amihud or something like that, you're just gonna pop in the chat and start bashing me and saying like that's not right, that's not what Jews think, and okay, it is what it is. And even like Masada, I was trying to argue with him and saying like we don't have to like the heroes and villains type thing, where if your goal is to convince people who's a hero and who's a villain, and obviously we disagree about that, but you just understand each other's ideas. And even like Charles Moskowitz, I keep on mentioning that to him, and he basically is always trying to convince people who's a hero and who's a villain, and to give some sort of preach his moralistic understanding. And he also has some ability for professional radio ship to just give a person a softball interview, help them sell a book, but just to put aside whatever, this is the person, this is what they believe, and that's it. Like, so what? We disagree. What could we talk about? Just agree to disagree and move on and talk about other things. And so if it's the nature of the show or confrontation, or if they're just toxic environments where the purpose is trying to like get a crowd or make some money, or like whatever the nature of it, that most of this stuff is rather toxic, where people want to see people destroyed, and that's what they're tuning in for. They want people to be exposed and embarrassed and destroyed.
You're a loser than me. I must be not that much of a loser.
Yes, I mean, God forbid, like 3 years in, we don't even have it. Like, okay, currently with memes, but we don't even have any regulars on Week in Review. And there could be greater things beyond our control. The situation of the world, and even global things are like nations going up against nations, or ideas where you have to take a side on an idea, and then the boundary lines where you're enemy status, where okay, this is what you think, you're on the opposite of this idea, you're my enemy. Like Ralph, like okay, like I support globalism. So it's like all these people like, well, you're my enemy. And so it's just like, well, you're gonna kill me, like you're gonna do everything. So it's really deterrence theory. And so can you suspend your deterrence theory and just say, okay, we could agree to disagree, and even though in many respects like we're ideological enemies, that I'm not waging deterrence theory against you. And so there's some level of enlightenment. I think maybe Jennifer, still, if your opinion of what good behavior is opposite other people's opinion, and so then you're going to wage deterrence theory because you want to mold people to what you believe is good behavior.
Wage deterrence theory. Can you be a little more specific as to what that entails?
It just means to be in a state of conflict where you're trying to convince the person or the audience that the other person is choosing a wrong strategy that has consequences, and as opposed to just stating your opinion and agreeing to disagree, that try to have this regular Hasbara type convincing that that this person is on the wrong side of these issues. I mean, deterrence theory, it's not originated in Israel, but it was popularized in Israel military theory of action like against Egypt, and kind of like, okay, like you kill one of our guys, we kill five, or preemptive strikes. We're just saying like we know we're enemies, we know we're on opposite sides of this, and the best way to solve the problem is to deter you from what I know your desire to do is. Because like okay, like I know you're my enemy, I know you're trying to push something forward that is what does the word enemy mean? But I mean, it's saying like the vision of what the meaning of life is, or if it's something political where you actually do think you have a military opponent, and it's something that could lead to the battlefield. But even just in the ideas where you're like you have one school of thought and the other person has another school of thought, so you could just be neutral and say we could agree to disagree, and talk about things in a neutral way. So I'm not gonna, try to like free will or something like that. I'm always going to describe things in a free will positive manner, and you might always describe things in a free will negative manner. And so it's kind of like a constant deterrence theory in any time we speak. Or it doesn't have to be deterrence theory. Someone watched like, okay, Doooovid believes in free will and you don't, and therefore I describe things in a free will positive way, you describe things in a free will negative way, and you don't have to argue about it every single time. I don't have to try to deter you or remind the audience or the people, like to try to convince them to be on my side as opposed to your side constantly. So I think most streamers, yourself included, do have that like constant convincing of constantly trying to win people over. And I'm calling that waging a war of deterrence theory. And if you put it, I said like debate is really a precursor to violence. And to describe these things in terms of like, okay, like we're enemies, how come you're not trying to kill me? And we'll say, okay, you're not trying to kill me, but it doesn't mean that these disputes that we're in, higher forces or circumstances couldn't put it into a circumstance where we would actually be on opposite field. Just saying like me and Jennifer probably wouldn't be IRL friends because that
I
we
could
might
see
make
us
a
going
good.
to some sort of like yogic retreat center and doing meditation and having fun doing something like that. But again, it's
I
like a
never go to
purpose,
yoga. I've never been to a yoga. Something
Modern
parallel
day
to,
debate con is a spiritual event.
it's not, but I'm just saying that if we were both attendees or manning our booth like the conventions I go to, that we would be there and we would have our own separate tables, and we'd be friendly in the fact that we have our own separate tables, and even though maybe someone would come over and be like, that's not what I'm selling, but that maybe you would like what she's selling more. And just like modern day debate, if we were debating, if it was monism versus dualism, that someone's more monist or something, I wouldn't necessarily have to I'm going to convince you that you're wrong and that you should be a dualist. That I could just send them to your table, and that's why I said most of these things like modern day debate con is so like professionals, Stephen Molyneux, JF, even like Richard Spencer, but on the higher level like Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, both sides are going to be selling books and autographing their books after. So like if me and Jennifer were at a public thing and we had our debate and we disagreed with each other publicly, then afterwards we would both have separate tables or maybe even the same table and would be signing our books. And if you liked her side more, you would buy her book and be asking for her autograph. And if you liked my side more, you would be buying my book and asking for my autograph. And there would be some sort of professional relationship where it wouldn't be like deterrence theory. I wouldn't be trying to convince the people in line waiting to buy your book and for your autograph, like get out of that line. You don't want her book. And so just like that's professionalism. Like Doovid has, I lived in Manhattan, not just party promoting. I used to go to the Ethical Cultural Society, and I've seen hundreds of these things like public debates, intellectual forums, and at the end of the day, it's over, and then both sides are selling books and signing autographs. And if they're friendly, they might sit together even though they disagreed, signing books and on autographs. And if they're not friendly, you're going to have the tables on different sides of the theater selling books and signing autographs. And generally, most people are friendly. So if it's like Richard Dawkins and Shmuley Boteach, they're probably friendly, like Dr. Brown and Shmuley Boteach or any of these big names that travels and people buy tickets to theaters and do public events like that. They're signing autographs, they're having people take pictures with them, and they're professional about it. And so, I would take that manner. People are, I don't know, COVID-19, how it's going to work, but there's going to be really long lines of people, wanting Destiny's autograph to get a selfie with them. Maybe T-Jump, there'll be a semi-long, like a few people waiting in line to get like a selfie with T-Jump. He doesn't, I don't even think those people have books. But if it was like JF, if he was at Modern Day Debate Con, he would be selling his book and autographing his book afterwards. And saying that like you're talking with Cy, I don't know what his name is, Cy Garte, or Charles Moskowitz, an author of many books. That's what they would be doing. They would be trying to sell their book and sign copies and sign autographs after the show. So like if you had a good show, like you're debating Cy Garte, if you invite him onto Week in Review, he wants to sell his books. He wants people to be happy with his product. And so if you're going to have him on your show and then you're going to tell people like, do not buy this man's book, do not take this man's idea seriously, he's not going to want to come on your show. Even T-Jump probably like that. He's got a little bit of an audience, but he's probably having a hard time making money like that. He's not friendly in that manner. And, because that's generally the way professionalism works.
Well, there seems to be some sort of an agreement, some kind on T-Jump server. I don't know if we go as far as to call it professionalism, but
I mean it's just kind of toxic. It's like T-Jump's trying to make money off of it, and no one likes each other. So like it's kind of like the Trump school of The Apprentice, where it's like one person wins, everyone else loses, and the people just enjoy watching people try to destroy each other. And so it's unfortunate because like at most one person's going to win, and the only consolation prize is the fun of watching people destroy each other. And so in reality, violence is like that. Things like the UFC. Yeah, it's like UFC or something like that, where one person's going to win, and people are just going to cheer on watching people pound each other's heads in. And so T-Jump's modern day debate is kind of like that. Um, like there's really no winners. It's unclear even if you could build up your own audience from being on that show. Politically Provoked is more friendly, relatively. Like Brittany is Todd, more professional. They even like shared my links. They were like I was able to cross book guest with them. So like, even relatively like Politically Provoked, um, it has a more professional take than modern day debate, and kind of a I don't want to say like a professional friendly approach. Like like you're trying to grow your channel, so we'll share each other's link and tell people to sub to your channel. So I mean, modern day debate is semi-professional like that. Tell people where you could find you, and put the link in the chat. T Jump doesn't even put your link in the chat. Something like that. But it's saying so like that minimal level of professionalism where you're saying like, yeah, like if someone comes to speak at my synagogue, or you're like, I want them to have a minimal benefit, like sell a few copies of their books, get a few subs, meet a few interesting people, interesting contacts that they're going to enjoy. Saying like if any friend of yours is a friend of mine. So on YouTube, it's not like that. Like you're like, okay, IRL, it's a lot of times like that. Like a friend of yours, a friend of mine. Especially in New York City, but Detroit. I've introduced people to thousands of people networking, and just saying like, oh, here's a good connection for you, and especially like straight business networking, getting ahead in life. Like kind of synagogue, social climbing. Like younger people coming up, apprentice, jobs, business, and like New York, that's what I did. Um, YouTube's not like that; it's unfriendly. Saying like, come on Week in Review, so that a bunch of trolls will channel you, will follow you to your channel. No one will buy your book. People will try to destroy your life and then laugh at you. God forbid. Um, internet's a tough place. Jennifer thinks she's a woman. It may be even tougher.
Nuanced, I think.
It's also like the taking high birth. Say like, okay, like I got in with the right people. I went to top schools. I apprenticed under the right people. Um, I know the powers to be. If you get in good with me, I'll introduce you to the powers to be. And whatever circles you're in, the internet, it's still like that a little bit. Like, okay, like I helped Jennifer get booked on some shows, and even till today, I book people on Politically Provoked. I hook Politically Provoked up with guests. Like I'm doing booking and networking. And it's like you getting good with Doooovid. Doooovid will hook you up. And that's generally how I construction. So there's a lot of things that I know, and if people ask me, I'll just give straight and